So referencing is about two things, and I think I've covered this well enough in one of my previous videos, okay? So obviously the first thing is now is getting the full bibliographic information about the source you're referring your readers to. So this might include the author's name, okay? Could be one or more authors. And then of course now the year it was published, the title of the document, of course, and then now things like the publisher, journal information if it's a journal source. Sometimes you might also need to include the URL, okay? And then we have now the in-text citation. So obviously you see you can't, when you're writing within the paragraph, you can't paste all this information there. So different academic writing styles have come up with different guidelines of what you need to include within the paragraph. So for example, the APA, they care about the surname of the author and the year that article was published. So that's the only information you're going to include within the text, which is now within the sentences, within the paragraphs. And then the rest of the information will go to the reference page at the bottom, okay? So I've covered this in one of my videos, and for those who have been following my videos, you already know how to do citations, of course, even including for scholarly resources and for blogs and websites. So that is done, okay? What I'm gonna talk about in this video is now the best way to integrate scientific evidence or academic evidence within a paper. And we're gonna do this by looking at two sample papers, okay? Two sample, text from two different writers, okay? So this is writer one, okay? And we have writer two here. So this is just a paragraph I extracted from a paper that was talking about why surveillance cameras are good in public spaces. And this is the point where this writer was talking about these cameras are good because they improve public safety, they reduce crimes, blah, 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 okay? So let us just read along and see how the writer has integrated the academic evidence, okay? So surveillance cameras in public places play a significant role in enhancing public safety by deterring crime. Having cameras in public spaces such as parking lots, nightclubs, and parks gives people a sense of security. Also, the mere sight of a camera in a public space intimidates criminals, making them avoid mischievous behavior because they know that the cameras will capture their identities and illegal activities. So now this person is citing Gomez and others, 2021. So this is an example of an APA in-text citation. You can see they only care about the surname of the author and the year that article was published. That's source, okay? So obviously ETAL is just an abbreviation for, let's say, and others, which means that there are more than two authors for this source, okay? So while these cameras may only make experienced criminals be more careful, they are effective in preventing common crimes like mugging, kidnapping, and vandalism. So of course now the full bibliographic information is here, which includes the author's names, the year it was published, the title of the document, journal name, of course now, and journal information like volume and page numbers, okay? So here, to be honest, there's no integration of this evidence. This writer rather, has not integrated this citation within this story. They have just cited it, just included it there. Yes, it is true that if you open this document and you read it, they're actually concluding, that, cameras deter crimes. That is the conclusion. It's actually a valid, a rather relevant citation here. However, this writer has not integrated the citation, the reference, rather the academic evidence. So let us look at writer 2, same paragraph, same idea. So in writer 2, surveillance cameras in public spaces play a significant role in enhancing public safety by deterring crime. Having cameras in public spaces, such as parking lots, nightclubs and parks, gives people a sense of security. Also, the mere sight of a camera in a public space intimidates criminals, making them avoid mischievous behavior because they know that the cameras will capture their identities and their legal activities. For instance, Gomez and others investigated the impact of surveillance cameras on crime deterrence and established that CCTVs prevented about 6-7 crimes per month when installed, translating to about 25% of crime reduction rate. So this is where we are now are talking. This is what you're talking about. You can see this writer has actually integrated the scientific evidence, the academic evidence. The writer has gone an extra mile, has actually read that study and summarized its findings so that we are so sure this study actually supports the idea. We are sure that the Gomez and others article is actually talking about CCTVs and how these CCTVs actually reduce crime. So you can see the summary basically includes the aim of the study. Okay, investigated the impact of CCTVs on crime deterrence. Okay, and then the findings, and I established this. So you can see this is a better integration. In fact, this is the best way of integrating scientific evidence within your paper. According to their findings, the presence of a surveillance camera is often enough to make criminal things trace before they act. Although in most instances, CCTVs only make seasoned criminals more careful, they generally reduce crimes like vandalism, kidnappings, and mugging. So, this is the best way of showing that this study actually supports the point. The entire point of having references within your paper is to actually support your arguments. So by just pasting it here, you're not actually showing how these studies support your argument. How are they related to your argument? But you can see in this, for this writer, the writer actually opened the study, read about it, and gave a summary of the study's objective and the findings. And the writer has gone an extra mile by quoting the numbers, because when you quote the numbers, it makes even more sense. Okay, quoting the figures, 67 crimes, 25% crime reduction. Okay, so this is the best way of doing things. And I'm not saying that every time you want to cite, you need to open that document and summarize it. But whenever it's possible, always try to do this. Always try to open that document, see how it applies to your paper or how it supports your argument, and mention it. Just mention how it supports. What is it about this document that supports your argument? What about it? Show us that this study actually supports your argument. This is what I see most people do. And I'm not saying it's bad, but it's very basic. It's a very rudimentary way of citing. Okay. In fact, this is how people fix references. Okay. I like giving the example of Apple. You know, you're working on a project about Apple, the company. And because you don't want to cite the actual things, you just go to Google Scholar, look for any article with the word Apple, and then you cite it, not knowing that that article was actually talking about apple farming and not Apple, the company. Okay? So I've seen this. Some people just place citations without even caring. It's even possible, I've even seen cases where a person is citing this article in a point saying that surveillance cameras improve public safety. Well, in reality, that article, the conclusion of that article was that it doesn't improve. Okay? But this article, this person just, saw the title of that article and assumed that it actually supports that idea. Okay? So for papers, for assignments that, for cases rather where referencing is an important part of the assignment, okay, integrating them, these citations this way assures you that you'll score the full grade. But just inserting the citations anyhow without any attempt to actually integrate is likely to not get you any more than 50% of the full score. So always try to go the extra mile. Try to open those studies that you want to cite, see how they apply to your paper, and actually state how they apply to your paper. That is what makes you a high quality writer, rather than just a basic writer mwenye, you just write in a basic way, you don't really care about the quality and all that, okay? So always try to go the extra mile, okay? Not in every instance. You can try to mix both, okay? Have situations where you just insert it and have situations where you actually integrate, showing how these studies apply to your argument. How do they support your argument? Are they relevant? Are they related to what you're talking about? So always try to read those studies, and you don't need to read the entire thing. In fact, By just skimming the abstract alone, you will find what you want. In fact, in this study, I'm sure this person did not have to read the entire document. They only went to the abstract part, which is usually less than 300 words, okay, skimmed through it and got this, and then they came and used it here. Because in the abstract will usually show the purpose of the study, the results, and the findings. So that is where you want to look at, okay? So you don't have to worry about reading the entire thing, okay? So this is a best way of doing things, and I'm looking forward to you guys sending in your papers for review. I'm excited to see what you will do, okay, how you will be integrating those citations within your papers. And by the way, I'm still reviewing people's papers. So if you feel like you just need somebody to counter check your work so that you know where you are in terms of quality, send in your samples for a review at a small fee. So I'll be leaving my email address in the description box, so be sure to check it out. And if you just want to know where do you stand as a writer, send in a couple of samples. I'll review them for you at a small fee, of course. And if you don't even have samples but you feel like you can do this, okay, based on the little training you've received, maybe from watching my videos or from any other source, and you feel like you can do it, reach out. I'll give you a couple of samples to try. We will go through those samples together. I'll tell you where you need to improve, if there's anything to improve at all, and you will become a better writer. You will never lack work. If you are a student, you will always score the full grade, okay, of every assignment, because the quality is a very important aspect of it. So I think in the next video, I want to talk about now how to understand questions. How do you break down questions? Because I think most people are usually stuck, getting the first sentence written down. So how do you go about understanding assignments, breaking it down so that it's easy for you to approach it? So watch out for that video. It's going to come up in a few days from now. But until then,